Are you one of the owners of electric vehicle car? Do you know that if the world transitioned from the normal conventional car to electric-powered car, it would jeopardize some countries, especially the oil producer countries, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Argentina, Mexico, Russia, and even Canada. Do you think this is just a myth or fact? Together, let us delve into it. We're going to address this topic, the topic that has been gaining a lot of attention across the globe, the so-called impact of electric vehicles on oil producer countries' economies. As the world faces ongoing wars, the repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the volatility of uncertainty in oil market, the rising trend of electric vehicles or EV might further disrupt the economies of countries that heavily dependent on oil production. We're going to cover on the impacts of the effort made in promoting EV as an alternative to the normal conventional gas-powered cars. Let's proceed with point number 1, the oil price uncertainty amid current unprecedented global challenges. With current ongoing conflicts and the latest spike of COVID-19 cases across the globe, oil prices have experienced an increase in uncertainty. Businesses and majority of people are raising their concern of another potential lockdown to contain the spread of COVID-19. The demand for oil has a strong correlation with the lockdown, as weakened the huge decrease in demand in 2020, reflecting on the worst oil price faced by the industries during that time. This volatility poses a significant challenges to oil producer countries, which heavily reliant on their oil revenues to sustain their economic and nation development. To make it worse, the second biggest oil producer in the world, Saudi Arabia, is residing at the center of the ongoing conflict. Will this current dynamic situation and EV progressive campaigns decrease the oil demand? The answer is clearly no. The rapid industrialization in emerging countries, driven by globalization efforts, is expected to increase the demand for oil and potentially lead to peak oil prices. This surge in demand, which eventually would lead to the increase of oil prices, poses a threat to the economies of the third world countries, as well as high risk of inflation to the developed world. Without globalization efforts, the goods and services cost would be skyrocketed. This is because the cost to produce the said goods and services in developed countries like the United Kingdom, Australia, or Singapore is extremely high. With all these globalization and industrialization happening, it leads to the high concern on the greenhouse effect, especially on the global warming. EV is seen as an alternative to circumvent these risks, while leveraging into the effort made by the world to transition to cleaner, greener, and renewable energy. The United Nations Climate Summit, COP28, has raised their concern on the slow progress made by big giant oil and gas companies in their efforts to shift towards cleaner, greener, and renewable energy sources. This lack of commitment hinders the global transition towards a more sustainable future. Quite majority of the world power plants, which produce electricity for the EV, are currently generated by using fossil fuel, gas, and coal, resulting in bringing more harm to the environment. Of course, this is an exception to countries that have nuclear power plant, windmill, and solar to generate their electricity domestic requirement. As of now, the world is not ready to provide this alternative to all countries due to security reason. Expansion of solar power plant is not an option, given the high potential of deforestation. Talking about a country that have their own nuclear power plant, the United States has taken a significant step forward in promoting EV adoption. With various incentives, public awareness campaigns, and the support given by its private sector, especially Tesla, the American government aims to accelerate the transition to electric cars This effort has produced a remarkable result, particularly with EV adoption in the States. Promotion is one thing. The price itself is another thing. How about the affordability of these electric vehicle cars? Well, giant automotive producers like Nissan and Toyota are introducing their newer electric vehicle models that are more affordable for consumers. This move has increased the competitiveness in the EV market. Consumers in the States are now having multiple options instead of solely relying on Tesla. This affordability factor is expected to drive the EV adoption rates even higher. But even with these latest, newest affordable models flying up, is it really affordable, especially to the developing countries? Despite the growing popularity of electric cars, the cost of maintaining and owning them in developing countries remains relatively high. This premium pricing makes EV cars unaffordable for a significant portion of the population. Enough about cost. Let us talk about the disparity in gas and electricity prices. The gas prices in oil producer countries are relatively cheaper compared to their electricity costs. This price disparity creates a hurdle for EV adoption, as conventional vehicles remain a more economical option for consumers in these nations. Having said that, let us assume that the United States and the European countries succeeded in their transition to EV. A decrease in consumer demand for oil would result in a surplus of supply, thereby driving down global oil prices. This scenario would have severe consequences for countries that heavily reliant on oil production for their GDP, such as Saudi Arabia, Brunei, Russia, China, Canada, Argentina, Iran, and Mexico. The other point that need to take into consideration is the investment in EV charging infrastructure. On top of their potential GDP impact, these oil producer countries would need to make a significant investments in EV charging infrastructure. Building an extensive charging network is not a cheap endeavor and would further put a strain to their economies. The worst that can happen to them is that, even with all the infrastructure been built up, the consumer still reluctant to shift toward EV, thus making all of the investment been poured by the government to waste. We need to take note that the world hunger issue is still revolving. Instead of channeling their huge portion of money to build this infrastructures, they might probably focusing it in providing food and jobs opportunity to their respective citizens. The decreasing trend in their GDP due to falling oil revenues would negatively affect these countries' currency values. As their currencies depreciate, they would face challenges in borrowing money, increasing the risk of financial instability and possibility of bankruptcy. Do you think that countries like Lebanon, Argentina, Yemen, and Mexico would gamble on these risks? Not to mention on the cost to recycle the battery, which currently still not cost effective. This will just lead to the battery being scrapped in the landfill instead of recycling. Thus produce another environmental issue, especially to the third world countries who are currently making money by taking the trash produced by certain countries to their landfill. Indonesia might be an exception, as they have the largest nickel reserve in the world, which is the main raw material to produce the battery for our EV cars. Though, it is still a raising concern on the environmental pollution impact to mining those nickel. Many Western EVs car manufacturers are questioning whether or not the process to mine those material meets the globally ESG standards. The Biden administration's 2021 supply chain report acknowledges the risk of a large shortage of Class 1 nickel in the next 3 to 7 years. Hence, in the long run, the production of EV cars might not be sustainable. Considering the risks and challenges mentioned, It is crucial to address the needs of the entire world when we want to transitioning to renewable and clean energy alternatives. Focusing solely on the United States as a use case may not be the most effective approach towards global EV implementation. While the transition to a renewable and clean energy future is essential, we must carefully consider the potential consequences of rapid change. Balancing progress and environmental concerns are crucial to maintain a stable global economy. Should EV transitioning end up in destroying some countries' economies, then probably it is not the best choice. So, what do you think about the potential economic impact of electric vehicles on oil producer countries? Will the shift towards EVs disrupt their economies, or will it open doors to new opportunities? We'd love to hear your opinions and thought in the comments section. Please do share this video with your friends, colleagues, and others should you deem it informative, and do subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos.